Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I had a really good friend was watching some of my Starfleet Battles videos. I've got a few of them out there, and just a couple. And he asked me why I don't do tactics on Starfleet Battles. I started playing in 1986. So I was in the Air Force at the time, and it was introduced to me, and I love the game. Starfleet Battles is wonderful. If you've not played it, you are in for a treat. But this friend asked me why I don't teach tactics, do a video about tactics. Because I'm doing advice for Dungeons & Dragons, why don't I do the same thing for Starfleet Battles? Here's the problem with tactics for Starfleet Battles. There are so many different tactics you can employ for any specific scenario. Unless you're actually playing, and I don't have the means to show you a map board with the ships. And if he's doing this, you need to do this. If he's doing this, you got to watch out for that. Blah, 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 blah. That it makes it difficult. So, given my current setup, I can't really do that. However, I have some advice for new players of Starfleet Battles, and this is I used to teach tactics to my friends when we played because when people start out in Starfleet Battles, their main thing, I'm going to drive over and shoot him. Yeah, that don't get it done. So, like I said, I've been playing since 1986, and it's been my experience over the years that basic tactics tend to be more reliable and more easily modifiable. In Starfleet Battles, flexibility generally trumps other aspects of whatever tactic you use. They've put out books on tactics, the tactics manual. I think there's more than one now. The problem with that is other people know the tactics. The Klingon saber dance, plasma ballet. All those tactics are well known. Everybody knows them. So talking about those tactics is almost pointless because there's a counter for every tactic. Okay. For those of you who haven't played, let me give you a little rundown right quick. The rule books for Starfleet Battles are about that thick, and they read like Air Force tech manuals. In the game, you can do virtually anything that you could do in real life in Star Trek. That's what the game is based on. You have a ship, and the objective is to destroy or drive off your opponent. So when they have to have rules covering every race, because every race has different weapons. They have to have all the different tactics for each race. They have to have the different ships, descriptions. Talking about tactics in Starfleet Battles, you're going to quickly get bogged down in minutia, because driving over and shooting them just don't get it done. So, okay, what's the alternative? Well, alternatives is the appropriate term. There's too much stuff. This game is too complex to talk about tactics in a video like this. But this is my advice. Basic tactics in any game, in any conflict, any battle, any scenario, whatever, starts with a thorough understanding of the rules and how your equipment works. Knowledge of things like optimum range categories, the damage that your weapons inflict, power requirements, how long they take to arm, all that stuff, it's necessities. You have to understand that. Knowledge of tractor beams, power systems, general ship systems, and all that stuff. It's going to give you an edge. And you need that edge in this game, because you don't know what the other guy's planning. Movement rules will make or break your victory. Knowing how fast your ship can go given the power allotted, knowing your movement, knowing fractional accounting, because some ships don't normally for example, a cruiser like the Enterprise, Kirk's Enterprise, takes 1 point of power to move 1 hex. Smaller ships take less, bigger ships take more. Fractional accounting. There are ships that take a half a point of power to move a hex. Okay, there are ships that take 3/4 or 2/3 or whatever. My contention is no fractional accounting, because those extra points of those extra pieces of a point of power add up, and that extra power could mean the difference between victory and defeat. Knowledge of specialized items, like cloaking devices, Durfax, disruptor, extended range. So it's a targeting system for disruptors. The UIM, the Ubertron Interface Module, web layers and webcasters, etc. All that stuff is paramount. You have to understand how that stuff works. Essentially, if it's on your ship status display, your SSD, you need to read every word about it in the rulebook and understand how it operates. Every box on the ship's status display is important. It all serves a function, okay? Your hull serves a function. If nothing else, for armor to prevent damage to other systems. Every single advanced tactic I have ever heard of, used, seen, or faced is based on these basic principles. If you don't know what your ship can do, you're not going to win the fight. Okay? Most often, the best tactics are what you pull out of your ass on the fly out of desperation. I've done that many, many times, and I've got a wonderful story to tell you. My friend Bobby is a great, almost lost my partition there. A great Starfleet Battles player. I taught him everything he knows, and he picked up on it really well. The man knows the game. He knows the game well. He's really good. Barbarian B&E. The Puppet Master. Those videos, those AD&D videos, same Bobby. Okay? I was very proud of this. We were involved in a campaign years ago. The guy was going to run a scenario where we each had a planet, and we build our fleets and advance out and build a territory and run each race in the game, you know, like a big strategic type thing. And it was going to be great. And the idea was we had if two people wanted the same race, they had to take ships identical and fight it out. The winner won, was able to run the race. The loser had to pick something else. So it was pretty fair. So Bobby and this other guy wanted to run the Klingons, and they each picked, I want to say it was a D7, and they were going to fight it out. And it was a basic tactic, and it was brilliant. They closed, and as he was approaching, Bobby fired a salvo to drop the front shield, but he didn't fire everything. He fired that, I want to say it was range 5, and then at 4, he fired again, some other stuff. And then at 3, he fired again. And at 2, when this guy fired, they both did damage to each other. But because Bobby staggered his salvos, knowing how the weapon systems and the damage allocation charts work, his weapons fire took out more weaponry and more power systems. So when they passed each other, at the end of the round, they were sitting like this. Right near the beginning of the round, I want to say it was impulse 2 or 3 of the next round. They're back to back like this. Bobby performed what's called a high energy turn. The high energy turn is where you're sitting here and you basically do this. Okay? It bends your warp envelope on its z-axis. It's not good for the ship, but it can be done. And Bobby did it, and he was facing the guy right on his ass end. His aft. And followed him. And no matter where this guy turned, Bobby stayed right on his butt and kept pouring fire for everything he had into this guy's back section. And eventually the guy, he couldn't shake him, so eventually he had to give up. Bobby won with a basic tactic, what's called an overrun, high energy turn, and then he just followed him shooting at him. It was brilliant. It was simplicity itself. It doesn't get much more simple than that. The game that I played, I lost on a technicality, but my tactic was sound. I wanted to run Romulans, the other guy wanted to run Romulans, so we each took the same ship, and we were both cloaked, invisible. We didn't know where each other were. I knew this wasn't going to last, so what I did is my ship was moving slow. He was zooming all over the place. But being cloaked, I couldn't see him. So what I did is I stopped. I dropped a mine right there, a little 10-point transporter bomb. I backed up, and then I moved forward, and I hit it. And I said, oh crap, I hit my own mine. I decloaked, and I sat there. From across the board, this guy uncloaked and started zooming across. And I knew I had him. And the timing was critical. He got to about range 5, and he opened up with every plasma torpedo he had. And if you understand the rules of plasma torpedoes, they're seeking weapons. They're big fireballs that chase you across the board. Well, I launched a Wild Weasel, which is a special shuttlecraft designed to, it's like a decoy. It pulls seeking weapons off of you. And my ship was here. My Wild Weasel got 1 hex away. His torpedoes moved over me and hit the shuttle and killed it. At the same time, he was coming right across my front bow, right in front of me, at range 2 or 3. I dropped a battery point for fire control, so my weapon systems came back up, my targeting system came back up. I had everything armed. I unloaded and gutted him in 1 salvo. The guy had to quit. The technicality was, I stated I was dropping a point of battery power for active fire control. I forgot to put it on my sheet. So they got me on a technicality for that. So I did end up losing that. I had to concede. However, my tactic was sound. That guy had no chance. He had no idea what he was doing. And after that, those guys, the guy and his friends that were playing in the game never messed with me because they didn't know what I was thinking. It was a brand new tactic. I pulled it out of my ass. They had no idea. They had no counter for it. I couldn't get them to engage in any battle after that. It was ridiculous. Anyway, now, there's a little game here since I've been talking tactics here. When I had a friend of mine ask me to teach him tactics, the first tactic I ever taught him was a very simple question. And I'm going to ask you guys the same question. If I get enough responses in the comments, I'll do another video about this and I'll answer the question. But there is a very simple answer to this. How do you force an opponent to allocate power for movement at the start of the game? How do you force somebody to move? Okay? It's a basic question. Put your answers in the comments. I'll be interested to read all of them. And there are multiple correct answers, but there's one specific one that I'm looking for. It's a very basic answer. And again, if I get some decent responses, I'll make another video and give you the answer to this. Remember, the best tactics are based on basic tactics that you can get by simply reading the rule books and finding out how stuff works. I have lived my life by keep it simple, silly. The KISS method. Keep it simple, silly. In the Air Force, it was keep it simple, stupid. But keep it simple, silly is a little more PC. At any rate, see if you can answer that question. How do you force an opponent to allocate power for movement at the start of the game? It's a very basic answer. Basic answer. Most players that I played with couldn't answer it. So hopefully you guys can. You folks have a good day. God bless one and all.